John, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have this conversation with you. Which part in Germany are you in? Berlin?
Yes, we're living in Berlin.
So tell us a bit about the name.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago, and the story behind how we found the name is not so romantic. We just came up with various word combinations that sounded cool. But when we found that combination, it for once it sounded really like an own word, like it could develop to an own term and not just be a combination of two words. So that's what we found really cool about it, just about the sound of the word.
Yeah.
And also the association that you have with these words at that time were a little bit it reminded us a little bit of the music that we do. It's kind of chaos, but in an ordered way or in an ordered universe. And yeah, it's the best way to describe it. We wrote totally different lyrics back then, so it's not tied to the lyrics at all. It's more tied to the music, to the musical starting point that we did. Really chaotic, but also in a specific order. So that's the story behind it.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. And you mentioned the lyrics. I was able to, like read some of them, and from the first album to now. And what I found is like, I felt very identified with your lyrics. And I say this because I kind of feel like the subjects and the way you approach lyrics, it's kind of the way I used to write when I was with the band, with After Feedback. And I noticed like there are, there's an approach to the lyrics in which like, you can tell how you care about certain, issues like immigrations and refugees, racism and all that. Can you tell me a little bit the evolution? Because I know you didn't start always being so like maybe social oriented or even political, if you will. Can you tell us what was your evolution from the first album, 2015, until now? How did you change? Obviously, you grew up. There's a big gap in time, but what triggered this change in direction?
Yeah, I mean, you can divide our career into two pieces actually, because we did the first part of our career, which were the first 3 or 4 years, 2012 until 2015, where we lived in another city, the city where we all studied music. And we started the whole band really focused on the classic progressive metal, the Dream Theater, Porcupine Tree, Opeth, kind of Pain of Salvation may be another influence that we really loved. And for the first album, I used a fairy tale that I wrote, that I read, or that I always watched as a film, as an old Russian fairy tale. My parents always showed me, so I found that very cool to use. And that was this, and the first album were the first years of Chaosbay. Then we did a hard break because we almost split up. We moved to different cities, and we were a little frustrated by how things were not going well. So we all almost split up, but when we all lived in the other cities and grew older and played with different bands, we really noticed really fast that we had to start again. And we needed this music. And after this break, a lot of stuff happened also in Germany with the refugee crisis and uprising right-wing parties that I was really terrified of, and was really worried about these movements in our society. And I felt the need to write about it. And it's not very common in classic progressive metal albums to write about political stuff. I thought this was kind of new. This was something I would want to hear. The combination of really musically orientated virtuoso music combined with lyrics that had to say something and are not only fictional. And that's what I really liked, and people really resonated with that. So we kept on going to do that. And we kept on doing that with the following EP, the album 22. And the newest album is also about these topics a lot, but a little bit more emotional than before.
No, that's very interesting, and you kind of answer my other question, which like I noticed a big gap between the first record, 2015, and the second one on 2020, right? 5 years they were in gap, and that's what you were saying. You guys moved to different cities and then almost split up. But the current formation is not the founding formation, right? Or am I wrong?
It's it kind of no, it's not. It's not.
Uh-huh.
But the guys that joined the band were always in the whole band family. You know, I said we studied music together and we
Yeah.
played in different combinations of bands, various ones. So
Mm-hmm.
we all played together like for years, and it was totally natural that when one member would want to stop this kind of music, that was totally natural that the guy who like stepped in for him for the last 10 shows was the obvious choice to get into the band. So for us all, it didn't feel unnatural or like there's a new member. It was just switching places.
That's
So really
cool.
natural. It kind of feels like the original formation, although it's not.
I wanted to jump into the latest album, Are You Afraid, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think it's like so powerful, and I noticed like the evolution on the different albums. I felt, as you mentioned, the very first one was very progressive, but at the same time, the approach to the vocals was much more in your face
Yeah.
and evolved, like gradually starting evolving into everything much more integrated.
Mhm.
And the third album is the one that I felt like you guys were reaching like that maturity, like you guys sort of like found that sound. And now with Are You Afraid, I felt you took a step further. And I
Mhm.
want to ask you about this because you come from like pretty much, for today's standards, having longer songs, to this one being more on the around of the 3 minute songs and all that, 3.5. I found also the difference. This one is maybe the production approach reminded me of bands like Fear Factory, like
Mhm.
very clean, even Clawfinger in the sense of the production, very like powerful and wall of sound, but a very, very tight and almost electronic at some moments.
Mhm.
And then on the vocals, I notice your voice. Maybe you don't even know this band, but I'm going to mention it. Your melodies also evolved to richer, and maybe you decided to explore more on the melodic side. And it reminds me of this band called Seven Dust. Do you know them?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of have this. I wouldn't say operatic, but it seems like you are more in love with the melodies, and you feel more comfortable onto like putting your voice and your melodic skills out there.
Mhm.
But then also that contrasts a lot with the way your screaming is, because I've heard a lot of metalcore and all that, and you go from melody to screaming, but I always felt that it was more within the same universe, while yours is like your melodies could be part of like even Linkin Park, if you will, but not in a commercial way, but in a very artistic way, right? But then when you're screaming, you go like guttural. You go very deep and strong. So tell me about this evolution on how you approach melodies, and is it something that it just happened? Is it something that you were looking for? You were like, oh, I'm missing something here, or I want to explore more. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, you told almost everything that I would say. It's funny because like a few days ago, I did another interview, and I, for myself, told the same story that that was the biggest change for me as a singer was developing my voice as a as an own instrument or as an integral part of the music. Whereas in the first album, I kind of use it as it kind of just was a part that I had to do I mean, that sounds pretty bad. I was always enjoying singing, but I wasn't I wasn't really focusing on the emotional side of the vocals. I was always back then I was more focusing on the emotion of the instruments and the whole production and the overall concept album story thing. And kind of forgot about the pop music side, that the strong lead vocal could do so much more to a song. And that's what as you said, that's what I missed myself on the first album. And kind of try to look for my own identity singing wise. I was not always super happy with my own voice. I mean, I think every singer can experience that at some point in his career, where he said, I wish I had his voice, or I wish my voice would sound more like him or like her. And I had that a lot. But eventually found my own way that I liked most about my singing voice. And over the last 3 albums, luckily I came to the point where I really liked it myself.
And you can tell.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, you can tell, because it's the way you describe it is almost how I felt by listening to the albums. Like I felt like, okay, first album, trying to find that direction. It's solid. It's great. But when you see the evolution after actually 9 years now, you can tell that you reach a point where you feel comfortable singing. And but I was wondering, is it something that you were already feeling, or it just happened? And you're giving me an interesting answer. What's the creative process and approach with the album?
We started as a band, was really centered around me as a songwriter. That was the whole concept of bands forming in that music studies that we did. We had to form bands, and the basic concept was the songwriter writes the songs, all the other guys are playing. So we started off like that, did that basically for the first 2 albums, and then I started more and more to love the idea of getting ideas from the guys. So at this point, after the second album, we started writing riffs together, developing the stuff, because we were closer as a group then, and founding ourselves as not as a band centered around one person, more as a group whose DNA is just the 4 people, and that was really fun. Some of the best songs we wrote were weren't just on my own, because we wrote them together. So I didn't want to miss this, and we did it more and more. And on this album, even Matze, our bass player, did some demos, and still they ended up being on the album like that. So that was really cool. Also, Alex writes a lot with me. We get together and write the stuff. Then, but we never go into the rehearsal room, because we just don't live in the same city. Some steps we do together. Then I do a whole step, for example, the vocals I do alone, or the lyrics. And then we get together again and develop more of the stuff, cutting parts, developing some other melodies around it. And then I finish it on my computer, because I also am the producer of the stuff. So they all finish on my computer, and we do it like that. And everybody can give influences or demos or ideas. And I would love to someday do it the old-fashioned way, coming together in a rehearsal room and jamming around. We never did that. I'm not sure that we are able to do that, but it would be a cool experience to do it someday.
That's so interesting. Well, another example of how things are changing, because we used to do like 4 times a week, like 3 hours every time. It was pretty insane. My bandmates sometimes weren't too happy about it, but like, no, 4 times a week. And anyway, but it was fun. So, well, this brings another question up. Like, how do you guys prepare for touring?
Usually we get together for rehearsal 1 or 2 days before a tour, and everything up until then has to happen alone. Or the Berlin department, which is the guitars and bass, we can work together and practice together here in my small rehearsal studio. So we try to do it as far as we can, and just get together with Patrick, our drummer, and finish the whole show. So that works pretty well, and it's an efficient way. Sometimes, of course, we can. I'd love to have this weekly appointment just to be in the loop of everything, but it's not possible. And for us, also maintaining our jobs, our outside jobs, or our families, our private life, it's okay like that. We can combine that really good.
No, look, I'm glad you guys found a way to do it, but I'm curious about what's your feeling that first day before going touring, or first couple of days when you guys get together, finally play the songs together? What's that feeling? Is it always good, actually?
It's always good, of course. I love to play it, but as you can imagine, nowadays it's so much about all the technical stuff, and it's all these questions and all the stress around the equipment, the racks, the in-ear monitoring. This overpowers the joy of playing these songs for the first time a little bit, which is sad. I'd love to have a big crew of guys who deal with this stuff, but luckily we have a perfect sound engineer who's a great guy and who does all of this. But all the other stuff, you name it, merchandising, the light show, setting up everything, tearing down everything in 5 minutes. It's so much stress. So yeah, unfortunately, this is the focus in the first few shows. And usually in the middle of the tour, it's the strongest part where I can start to enjoy the songs that we play on stage really with all of my heart. I love it, and it's actually towards the end, it's more and more becoming.
It keeps going up. You start finding and by the time you're ready, like, okay, I'm doing it, then the tour ends.
Is over.
What's the longest tour you guys have done?
The longest thing will come in January. We'll get on a big support tour for Siamese for 22 shows in a row. So that's crazy. That's amazing. 3 off days. We have 3 days off, but it's not much. Yeah. And it's pretty hard.
What do you feel are the biggest challenges as a band right now, nowadays, in terms of, finding a place for yourselves as a band within this super crowded industry of music and now even more with AI, that people are uploading AI generated music that can emulate basically anything? What do you think are the biggest challenges, but also what keeps you optimistic about, or what tools that you have today feel, I know it's challenging this way, but because we have these things, I'm optimistic, or whatever? Like, can you give me an idea of how you feel about this all?
Yeah. It's definitely hard with all the social media stuff. There's a lot of chances that you get through it, but it's also, as you said, there's also a lot of downsides. And the biggest challenge, I'd say, is balancing out the content, basically balancing music and content, which can be the same, but it shouldn't be in a way. And balancing out releasing a lot of stuff, like Daniel Ek said. Just release more, then you get more money. But on the other side, still preserving the value of the art that you do, and not just pushing out content in forms of songs. And that's pretty hard for every band. And we try to do a lot, but at the same point, I'm really afraid of losing the value and people getting used to Chaosbay always releasing music endlessly. And basically losing, for the sake of the algorithm, losing this momentum or these special hype moments that bands need. And you can't have a high moment when you don't have low moments before and after it.
I know you guys collaborated with Of Virtue and We Are Pigs. I have to say that I didn't know them. I went on and listened to some of their music. Holy cow, especially We Are Pigs she's intense. Yeah. Now, tell me about the collaboration. Why them, and how it came to be, and was it someone that you guys were really, really looking forward to collaborate, or did it work in a way where you were writing a song and then you started thinking this would be great with these people? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, it actually it just happened in because yeah, we're just writing songs. And luckily, our really cool guys from our record label, Ben and Matthias, saw this in a few songs, and yeah, basically suggested some artists that they think were cool to ask for these songs. And yeah, we listened to them and thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
So we just asked them, and almost all of them, no, actually all of them said yes, which was a great honor. I mean, I didn't know We Are Pigs as well. Just noticed her because I think Ben introduced me to her.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. It was like something I've never thought we would need in our songs, but after it, I would say, yeah, how couldn't we think of that?
Yeah.
This song would be just so lonely without her voice and her energy. And yeah, and with the other guys as well. I mean, we knew of Virtue, we knew the name, and we funnily enough, we played a few festivals with them the year before. We never knew each other and never saw the show, but it was cool.
Since we're talking about collaboration, what would be your dream collaborations if you could choose?
Yeah, it's always a crazy question, but I usually I say Limp Bizkit because it's this band that influenced us as a group. I mean the band that influenced every one of us. We all have different influences, but we all have this band on our list. So I
That's
think
so cool.
this would be the most fun for us.
That's so cool. Let's try. Let's make it happen, Jan.
Yeah, of course.
What's next for you guys? What's coming up? What are the goals? What are you working on?
Yeah, the biggest thing is our first tour with Siamese in January. It's really not that not so long until it's happening. So we're really excited already. And yeah, that's the biggest thing. Playing places we've never been before in
Cool.
Europe. So that's yeah. And after that, maybe getting back in the studio or into the songwriting phase, exploring what we can do different, because we feel like we've reached this point of this style that we did on the last albums, was kind of culminated in this album. So I feel we need to change, or we want to change, but I'm not sure in which way. So I'm pretty excited to find that out. And I think this Europe tour can be a big influence and inspiring in a way.
Okay, let's go into the quiz. If Chaosbay had a superpower, what would it be?
Yeah, that was the hardest question to think of just in the beginning. I don't know. It's kind of the only thing that came to my mind was telepathic, because in a way we are really connected on stage. We played a lot of shows together in different formations, and we developed the kind of language together. When we jam songs, we jam cover songs together. We feel the same, or we feel what the other person feels. So I think if I had to choose, it was telepathic.
You're hosting a dream dinner party. Which three musicians, living or dead, are you inviting?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be Fred Durst, as I said. It's plus I think he's a really fun guy at dinner parties, and I love his humor. Yeah, I mean, musicians. Another musician could be Bill Murray. I love Johnny Frank of the band Bill Murray. Just recently discovered them. Quickly became one of my favorite bands.
What's the name again?
Bill Murray. It's like the name of the actor. Yeah, but it's spelled differently. It's spelled wrong on purpose.
Gotcha.
And that's the whole point of the band. It's just funny. It's so modern. It's so social media meme orientated. Plus, the music is so much. It's so intense and so good and so serious, but in a funny way. Yeah, it's hard to describe, but I think I would love to talk with this guy, Johnny Frank of Bill Murray. Yeah, and also kind of maybe a legend. I don't know. I'd say Don Henley of the Eagles, just for my own fun, because he wrote one of my all-time favorite songs, and it was the biggest influence in my childhood.
Describe each of your bandmates using only one song title from another artist.
Let's do Matze. He's our bass player. He loves a band from Denmark called Dizzy Miss Lizzy. And I think the song Silver Flame, it's like a 90s anthem, always underrated 90s anthem. It's a band that's really big in their really small home country, but not known at all outside of that. And
No.
it's really magic. I love this band as well, and the song Silver Flame really fits to our bass player Matze.
Hmm.
Um, I will pick Igor Stravinsky, but what was the song? Yeah, it's a classical piece of Igor Stravinsky that I picked
Uh-huh.
for our drummer Patrick, because one time he did a drum cover with a classical music piece, and that's what describes his personality in
That's
a weird
awesome.
way. The
That's great.
combination and the virtuosity and the genius behind this man. Yeah, I have to look up the name of the song. He will beat me for that.
But
But
still, I didn't see that coming, and I think it's a
yeah,
great,
yeah, yeah.
a great,
It's
you
kind of
know.
sacre. Yeah, I look it up. It's so
Okay.
cool. Um, and for Alex, our guitar player, I'd say Mike Hurst from Killswitch Engage.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know, because
Yeah.
it's such an iconic thing, and I say it because please notice it's not I didn't speak to my bandmates about this. I hope they're not unhappy that I say this, and it's just my opinion of what comes to my mind. But the whole Kill Switch Engage world, I connect the most with Alex, because he brings this classic, really powerful metalcore side in Chaosbay, which I really love. And we wouldn't sound like that. We wouldn't be on stage like that if it wasn't for him and his influence in this whole hardcore metalcore scene from the 2000s. So that's what I really connect with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Cool.
for myself, I don't know. I don't know. It might be Dream Theater with the song um, As I Am
Okay. Not a bad
from
selection.
2003.
Yeah.
Just turned 21. The album, it's crazy. It's so crazy how fast time flies.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
take Dream Theater. And let me switch the song, the Igor Stravinsky song from Patrick, to the song Tearing Up My Heart by NSYNC.
Okay.
And people who really know us know why I did this.
Now, if you could only listen one album for the rest of your life, I know that's a
Mhm.
very difficult one, but still, which one you think you would choose?
No, it's not that hard. I'd say it's Continuum by John Mayer.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
not really connected with our music. But yeah, I asked myself these kind of things a lot, and yeah, I couldn't choose a metal album. It's just too intense.
If
Mhm.
you had an encounter with an alien and they asked you which artist, song, or album would better define humanity, which one would it
Human.
be?
Teenage Dirtbag,
Okay, okay,
just for fun.
for fun. All right, Jan, I'm gonna leave it here. It's I could keep talking, but it's been a pleasure. I appreciate it. I like you guys' music. I like the attitude. I love the approach on your sound. I'm still wondering how you guys do certain things, like when you switch, what I was telling you at the beginning, how you went from the melodic portion, then when the heavier part comes between your vocals,
Mhm.
and there's this guitar sound that I'm still not identifying, but the contrast is so big, but it works very
Mhm.
well. I'm just excited to see what comes next, so keep me posted. All right.
So cool. Thank you. I'm really glad to hear that, and love to hear that you like the stuff and that you really catch on the details and everything. It's a big honor. Thank you.